must also realize that the problems of racial injustice and economic injustice cannot be solved without a radical redistribution of political and economic power. We read one day, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But if a man doesn't have a job or an income, he has neither life nor liberty and the possibility for the pursuit of happiness. He merely exists. Estimated that we spend $322,000 for each enemy we kill in Vietnam, while we spend in the so-called war on poverty in America only about $53 for each person classified as poor. The promises of the Great Society have been shot down on the battlefield of Vietnam, making the poor, white and Negro, bear the heaviest burden both at the front and at home. The other thing I want you to understand is this, that it didn't cost the nation one penny to integrate lunch counters. It didn't cost the nation one penny to guarantee the right to vote. But now we are dealing with issues that cannot be solved without the nation spending billions of dollars and undergoing a radical redistribution of economic power. Yeah. All labor has dignity. Yes. But you're doing another thing. You are reminding not only Memphis, but you are reminding the nation that it is a crime for people to live in this rich nation and receive starvation wages. America's opportunity to help bridge the gulf between the haves and the have-nots. And the question is whether America will do it. There's nothing new about poverty. What is new is that we now have the techniques and the resources to get rid of poverty. And the real question is whether we have the will. At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check. And I come here tonight and plead with you. Believe in yourself and believe that you're somebody. As I said to the group last night, nobody else can do this for us. No document can do this for us. No Lincolnian emancipation Proclamation can do this for us. No Kennisonian or Johnsonian Civil Rights Bill can do this for us. If the Negro is to be free, he must move down into the inner resources of his own soul and sign with a pen and ink of self-assertive manhood his own Emancipation Proclamation. Don't let anybody take your manhood. Be proud of our heritage. As somebody said earlier tonight, we don't have anything to be ashamed of. Somebody told a lie one day. They couched it in language. They made everything black, ugly, and evil. Look in your dictionary and see the synonyms of the word black. It's always something degrading and low and sinister. Look at the word white. It's always something pure, high, and clean. But I want to get the language right tonight. I want to get the language so right that everybody here will cry out, yes, I'm black, I'm proud of it, I'm black and beautiful. I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I must confess that that dream that I had that day has at many points turned into a nightmare. Now, I'm not one to lose hope. I keep on hoping. I still have faith in the future. But I've had to analyze many things over the last few years, and I would say over the last few months. I've gone through a lot of soul-searching and agonizing moments, and I've come to see that we have many more difficult days ahead, and some of the old optimism was a little superficial, and now it must be tempered with a solid realism. And I think the realistic fact is that we still have a long, long way to go, and that we are involved in a war on Asian soil, which, if not checked and stopped, can poison the very soul of our nation. I'm not going to say that all of our problems will be solved if the war in Vietnam is ended, but I do say that the war makes it infinitely more difficult to deal with these problems. When a nation becomes obsessed with the guns of war, it loses its social perspective, and programs of social uplift suffer. This is just a fact of history, so that we do face many more difficulties as a result of the war. It's much more difficult to really arouse a conscience during a time of war. There is something about a war like this that makes people insensitive. It dulls the conscience. It strengthens the forces of reaction, and it brings into being bitterness and hatred and violence. I think the biggest problem now is that we got our gains over the last 12 years at bargain rate, so to speak. Didn't cost the nation anything. In fact, it helped the economic side of the nation to integrate lunch counters and public accommodations. It didn't cost the nation anything to get the right to vote established. And now we are confronting issues that cannot be solved without costing the nation billions of dollars. Now, I think this is where we're getting our greatest resistance. They may put it on many other things, but we can't get rid of slums and poverty without it costing the nation something. I feel that nonviolence is really the only way that we can follow, because violence is just so self-defeating. a riot ends up creating many more problems for the Negro community than it solves. You can, through violence, burn down a building, but you can't establish justice. You can murder a murderer, but you can't murder through violence. You can murder a hater, but you can't murder hate. And what we are trying to get rid of is hate and injustice and all of these other things that continue the long night of man's inhumanity to man. When we allow freedom reign, when we let it reign from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at
last. Good evening, Facebook. I just want to check in right quick. This is the Street Minister checking in on this Sunday evening here in Miami, Florida. I wanted to play a few inserts from Dr. Martin Luther King so that you can hear from the servant himself through his lips, through his heart, through his passion of service. There were some things about some of the speeches that I didn't even hear when I was growing up listening to I Have a Dream. And, I didn't hear the radical revolutionary stance that he had about wealth sharing and where we stood as a community and as a nation as it came down to getting our fair share. And as you heard him speak about the nation paying its dues to pay its debt to black society that they enslaved, that is still a conversation that we're having today as we talk about reparations. And you also heard him mention that it's going to cost the nation something to make things right with African Americans. So I'm not going to be long, but I want to be strong. I took some notes because I didn't want to come on, just, off the cuff, and passionate and just rambling. But I did want to have some factual basis as to the discussion I want to have with you all. So I wanted to, first of all, I see some of you all checked in. My little nephew, Keith, you checked in. I see you, Fred Christian. I want us to have some dialogue. Tag a friend, tag someone that's watching right now, tag someone, because I want to make sure that we're all engaged in this conversation, in this discussion as a community. This is not going to be just me talking to you. This is going to be us talking to us. And I'm going to be reading the comments, and I'm also going to be answering questions. So if you want to drop questions inside the comment section, I'll read out the questions. And if I'm not able to answer it, I hope someone else could chime in and answer it. Thank you, Fred, for tagging everybody that's a part of our community here in Miami. Giving you all some more time to log on. I've been on now approximately about going on 20 minutes. Just basically playing a couple of Dr. Martin Luther King speeches. And I'm going to be playing some other insert videos that I wanted to share with you all. But first and foremost, I wanted to open up in prayer. Lord Heavenly Father, God, I thank you, God, for this evening. God, I thank you for those that are getting ready to chime in right now and our listeners right now on Facebook Live, those who are local, those who are out of state. God, we ask that you touch everybody that's on this live right now, God, in the name of Jesus. God, I ask that you use me. I ask that you speak through me, God, that this is not about me. This is all about you. This is for your glory. I thank God for the manservant that you sent to us, Dr. Martin Luther King, but we know that you are the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. God, we're going to be mindful that you get the podium tonight, God. You get to speak through me, God, and I wouldn't be on here, God, had you not called me for this assignment, God. This is not an easy assignment, oh Heavenly Father, God, that this is not for the faint at heart, God, but I thank you, God, for choosing me. And my hands are unclean right now. I ask that you forgive me of anything that I've done in your sight that's unpleasing, God. And I thank you, God, for this time. I thank you, God, for our listeners, and I be mindful to give you the honor, the praise, and the glory. In your Son, Jesus Christ's name, I pray. Amen. I wanted to, first of all, I want to introduce myself. Some of you all affectionately know me as the Street Minister Anthony Durden. A lot of you all have been following me on Facebook for quite some time, and I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your likes. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your encouragement. I'm only on here to encourage, to uplift and encourage. That's my main purpose of why I'm here on social media. I wanted to get in some things as it relates to some of the things that just transpired this past weekend. Last Monday, we did celebrate the 47th annual MLK Day Parade and festivities in Miami, Florida, for the 47th annual parade and festivities right in Liberty City. And I was blessed and honored to be the director of gospel programming for the gospel stage. That we had an excellent time. We had an excellent turnout. We had great artists that came here. We had groups like Sincere, one of our top groups here out of South Florida, that's been in the gospel music industry for over 2 decades. We had Byron Holton that came in. We had Testimony who came in, Jay White, DJ Obadiah, DJ Kojak, WMBM. Thank you for WMBM's participation in the parade this year. I want to thank Cox Media, Hot 105, 99 Jams, Missy Bailey, Maestro Powell, all of you all over at Cox Media. Thank you all for the love and support. Rodney Baltimore, thank you all for the love and support for playing the commercials, posting the flyers for the whole MLK weekend experience. I want to first and foremost thank our staff. I want to thank Lady Jenkins, who is the president of the MLK Parade festivities. I want to thank my mentor and big brother, Ed Haynes, for taking me up under his wing and trusting me and allowing me to operate in the capacity as program director over gospel. And so I'm just fortunate to be a part of this historic event for the past couple of years. I can remember coming to the MLK Parade years ago, riding my bike from the Miami Rescue Mission. At the time, I was in the homeless shelter. Now, I didn't grow up in Miami, so a lot of you all have heard my story that I grew up in Compton. Although I was born in Miami, I grew up in Compton, so I didn't get the experience of going to school here in Miami. I went to school in LA, California, and in Compton Unified School District. So I didn't have a chance to participate in the MLK Parade when I was younger. But when I became an adult, I was able to participate in the parade. My main thing of coming to the parade at that time, I've been selling Black History attire and apparel and accessories for over 20 years. My company is called Kingdom Wear, and I go out to the parade every year with my Black History t-shirts. As you can see, I'm wearing one of my products right now. This is my new 3D sublimation t-shirt, sweatshirts, and hoodies that I have. And I remember I was going out there to the parade, and for the most part, it was just about me going out there and fellowshipping. I love to go out there and mingle with the community, and at the same time, make money. So I was making money and making friends at the same time, and I just enjoyed the atmosphere of fellowshipping with our community. And I remember hearing about a lot of things that I would hear from the community as it relates to the parade. Some people was actually, you had the pros and cons of the parade. You had those who enjoyed the parade. They enjoyed the bands. They enjoyed those who were participating in the parade. But on the downside of the parade was that we were starting to run into situations where people were getting hurt. We was having shootings. We was having fights. We was having issues where the park would get shut down because this is the longest and largest and most historic parade in the country. And it goes on for maybe 4 hours at the longest. And the beginning of the parade route starts from 54th and 12th Avenue, and it makes its way down 54th Street, and it ends up on 32nd Avenue and 60th Street at the historical MLK Memorial Park. And so the park is supposed to be a safe space. Not only is the park supposed to be, the whole entire parade is supposed to be a safe space for our children, for our community, so we can come out and celebrate the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Parade. But unfortunately, we was having situations where you would have shootouts and you would have people getting into fights and stuff like that, which was the exact opposite in the spirit of operating in the spirit of Martin Luther King. So, you know, Martin Luther King was a nonviolent man. He spoke on nonviolence, and so I'm saying that on this day, it should be a day of redemption. It should be a day of reconciliation. It should be a righteous day. It should be a holy day. It should be a day when we come together as a community and love on one another, and impart and empower each other. And so, you know, my disappointment with, you know, the past few years has been, you know, good things turning out to become bad. You know, it tells us in the word to let not your good be evil spoken of. And so just having, you know, the MLK parade in the same breath and in the same language as gun violence, it didn't even make no sense to me. And so, you know, I said, well, what can I do to have an impact on the parade in a positive way? And I'm just thankful for my brothers, the Circle of Brotherhood, who has also been a part of the parade within the past few years of black men solving our own community problems and black men being present at the parade. So since the Circle of Brotherhood has been a part within the past, I would say 3, 4 years, 5 years, that we've had more control. At first, we was once just participants in terms of being in the parade, but now we're part of the infrastructure of the parade. And so we have a lot more authority over the parade and the activities that take place. And having black men present has made a monumental difference in the parade, in the spirit of the parade, in the environment of the parade. Although there's a lot of law enforcement at the parade, I believe that black men's authority and their presence supersedes even law enforcement in some areas of dealing with our community hands-on. And I want to give you an example of what I'm talking about. Last Monday at the parade, we was having the gospel stage going on, and coming around about the close of the parade event, maybe like a little bit after 4, in between 3 and 4 o'clock, there was some minor disturbances that started to take place with some youth, some of our babies. There was some, you know, potential threats of violence on the park. And so I want to give a shout out to my big brother, Larry Dog. Larry Dog and I interceded in between a fight that could have broke out. And I know it would have got ugly real fast had we not stepped in. And one of the tactics that I felt that was effective, that I was able to use to quell the violence and to get in between the violence, was I was able to reaffirm with the young ladies who was about to get into it with some other young ladies. And then you had a bunch of young guys that was in the background, kind of like with cameras out. You know, it's basically one of those moments where you have people with their phones out. You know, there's a big thing now where, you know, people pull their phones out, it's ready to go live, ready to go viral at any moment for the wrong reasons. And one of the things I was able to do to bring the tension down with these young women was I was able to raise their level of thinking up in terms of addressing them as queens. And I was telling them, Queen, you're too pretty to be out here fighting. You don't want to get your hair messed up. You don't want to get your makeup. You got yourself all made up for the parade, and you don't want to go home with no black eyes and no hickeys on your head and none of that. And they looked at me, and they looked at me kind of bewildered at first, but then I began to look into the eyes of these young women, young girls, and I could see that a lot of them probably had not even been called queen in a long time. Because now we've effectually embraced these other negative terms about our women and about our young men, and we wear it like a badge of honor, and it's degrading ourselves. It's I would say it's low self-esteem. I would say that we have embraced a low tone of how we see ourselves. So me raising their level of thinking and raising their conscience of thinking by calling them queens, I was able to bring them down and calm them down, and not, you know, come at them in a very aggressive way, but just showing love, just being there, being present like a big brother or uncle would be, or a father figure would be. But I wanted to get into this because I wrote some things down, and the topic for tonight about this thing that I want to talk about with us, this discussion I want to have, was it is not a dream, it is a nightmare. It is not a dream, and it is a nightmare. And so for anybody that's watching right now, please drop in the comments right now if you believe that King's vision is a dream. Give me thumbs up. And if you believe that it has become a nightmare, give me thumbs down. I want to see how many of you all right now are watching right now that if you believe right now, this day and age that we're in right now as African Americans, as a black community, that the dream is a dream and a vision of Dr. King come to reality, or are we living in today's age in a nightmare in our black communities? Give me a thumbs up if you believe we're living in a dream. Give me a thumbs down if you believe we live in a nightmare. What's going on, Tawana? Thank you for chiming in, Fred. I see you. Roni, thank you for chiming in. If you believe that we as a community and as an African-American community right now in this day and age is living the dream and the legacy of Dr. King, give me a thumbs up. And if you believe that we're headed in the wrong direction and that the dream has become a nightmare, give me a thumbs down. Thank you all for participating. I see Constantine. Thank you. I see that you got thumbs down. I see who else? I need some more thumbs up and some thumbs down. As many people as can come on right now, that can log on right now. If you're listening to me right now, if you believe that Dr. Martin Luther King's dream that we're living in right now, 2024, you heard the speech when you heard him say out of his own mouth that his dream has become a nightmare. And this was in 1967 when he said this. And so now we're in 2024. Do you believe that we are living in a dream of Dr. King's, or we are living in a nightmare? Give me a thumbs up and give me a thumbs down. Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. I want to show you something real quick, this quick video. I want to show you something real quick. Let's go here. I want to get this.
Zillow helped me land this Airbnb listing. Yes, Zillow. And Airbnb paid me $2,200.
Developing tonight, hundreds of riders taking over the streets of South Florida for the annual MLK Day ride-out.
And we usually see a lot of ATV and dirt bike riders out there, but this year, most participants were on bicycles. Local 10's Janine Sten with us live down with Northwest Miami-Dade with the details on this one. Janine.
Police say most of those ATVs and dirt bikes are not street legal, but riding a bicycle on the highway, that's downright dangerous. Bicyclists swarming the streets in downtown Miami, even into the night. A pack of motorcycles and four-wheelers near Northwest 22nd Avenue, where police are blocking intersections. In what's become a loosely organized and dangerous tradition on the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, riders on bikes, ATVs, and dirt bikes take over South Florida roadways. More than 100 people on bicycles made it onto I-95 in Miami, popping wheelies, hanging onto cars. At one point, a cyclist appears to surf, one foot on the handlebars and one on the seat, taking video.
We just ride, we don't want no trouble, we ain't causing no trouble, we out here just
Some tell us they mean no harm to others, but law enforcement, who tailed many of these riders from behind, say these stunts can be deadly, no matter the vehicle.
Safety is the primary goal for everyone, really, for motorists and for these bicyclists that we saw that did momentarily get on the highway.
Amazingly and thankfully, no major incidents, no big injuries that have been reported. Miami-Dade.
Now, I'm familiar with Wheels Up, Guns Down because I've talked to their founder, and some of these groups, some of them go up under the name of Wheels Up, Guns Down. You have Bikes Up, Guns Down. You have a variation of different groups. And what I wanted to talk with them about, and what I want to talk with city officials about and law enforcement about, is trying to get some organization with these young men, because you know, it reminds me of my childhood when I was growing up, and I grew up riding bikes just like that. And some of these kids are doing some amazing things on some of these bikes. I mean, if you've ever seen these kids, they're doing things that we was looking at. I look at them now as like in awe of some of the things that I've seen these young men do and young women do on these bicycles. And I was saying, you know, people would pay good money to come see these young kids if it was organized and if it was in an area where we can bring them together and probably get some sponsorship. I can remember growing up in Cali and riding BMX, Mongoose bikes, PK Ripper bikes, Redline bicycles. We had actual bicycle parks that we had where we can go ride professionally. A lot of young men, and a lot of them didn't look like us, African Americans, but you had a few. We would ride pretty much professionally. We had the whole uniform on, helmets, the pads, the whole suit. And we would go to these parks, these skateboard parks and these bicycle parks, and we would go into the mountains and ride our RV mopeds and dirt bikes. And so it's to me, I just think that there's a cultural difference in terms of the way that we embrace certain things. And I think because we don't have those things that these the outlets that they can have, what I grew up in, which was in suburban communities where they had these bike parks, they had these skate parks where these kids can go ride their skateboards. I can remember meeting Tony Hawk for the first time. Tony Hawk is a world famous skateboard rider. And this man made millions of dollars riding a skateboard. That's all he did was ride a skateboard. He wasn't no college graduate. He didn't go to school to learn to ride skateboards. He was just a kid that loved riding skateboards. And Tony Hawk was so good to where they had them created a video game after him named Tony Hawk. And I met this brother doing a commercial, shooting a commercial in Long Beach, California. And this man was riding all up the side of the wall, doing all kind of different daredevil stunts on the skateboard. And I was telling these young men, I said, you know, you guys can make a lot of money, man, riding these bicycles. If somebody just took you guys up under their wings and put you guys, man, just the same way as they do with monster trucks, let these kids enter into or register themselves inside these bicycle leagues, and let's get them organized so that, you know, we give them an outlet so where they're not riding on 95, obstructing cars and whatnot, because it is dangerous for kids to be riding bikes. I actually saw a kid get hit by a moped this past weekend in Overtown. Kid wasn't hurt. He didn't get hurt. Thank God he didn't get hurt. But he literally got smacked by a moped right in front of the Lyrics Theater last weekend. I saw this with my own eyes. And so I know it's dangerous. I've seen and heard of kids getting hurt real bad riding these bicycles. And it would be an awful thing. And it seems to get a lot more attention that it used to. It's like now it's almost a given that on MLK weekend, you have, you know, the police chasing young men and whatnot on bicycles. And I'm not saying that all of them are doing the right thing on these bicycles, because, you know, they're confiscating weapons and drugs and so forth. But, you know, I don't want to be the type of person to be a hypocrite, because I was once a kid like that myself. And I was rebellious somewhat. Although I wasn't violent, I did a lot of rebellious things that were not in order. You know what I mean? And so I want to make sure that I don't want to come on here, you know, like someone that forgot where they came from, because I was that same kid myself. I love what they do. I love the talents that they have. And I'm giving anybody that's watching Facebook Live, if you know anyone, I know Dwight C. Wells, that's my little brother. He's like a nephew to me. You know, he's the founder of Bikes Up, Guns Down. And me and him have even talked about getting them some revenue for riding these bikes so that they can get paid to ride these bikes, not get chased by the police. Let's organize this thing where they can make good money. Because I know people would pay. I would pay to go watch these guys do what they do. You know what I'm saying? But I want to keep it moving. But these are just some of the things that I want to tie in to the MLK weekend experience here in Miami. Now, we know that they also have MLK experiences in other cities, but I'm starting to see more and more in areas of the urban black community is that MLK Day events or Anywhere where there's MLK, it seems to always be some sort of negative light shine on a good thing, on a good man who lived a righteous life. You know what I'm saying? A non-violent life, a non-criminal life. Yeah, he was arrested. Dr. King was arrested a lot of times, but he was arrested for fighting for civil rights. You know, he was arrested for peaceful protesting. And back then they would arrest you for a little bit of nothing. So he wasn't going to jail because he got caught with dope in his pocket, or he got caught with a gun in his pocket, or he got caught, beating on the police. No, he got caught because he was trying to fight for our freedom and fight for our civil rights. So that's why he went to jail, in and out of jail, over 20 something arrests. So he was the street minister before the street minister, Dr. King. He was in the streets, doing what he do. And I was just talking to a friend of mine the other day. Imagine if Dr. Martin Luther King would have went and got a 9-to-5. What if Dr. King went and got a warehouse job? Or what if he went and got a construction job? Or what if he was just an ordinary Joe who just went and said, you know what, this ain't paying me no money. Let me go and get me a real job, because community activism work don't pay no money. You know what I mean? Trust me, I know. I do it. I've been doing it for 20 years. I don't get paid to do what I do. And so, I'm quite sure that when he went home, beaten and bruised, sometimes by even his own, that I'm quite sure his wife would ask him, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Do your people really appreciate you? Do they really value you? You putting your life on the line. You putting our lives on the line. You know what I'm saying? Talking to my wife the other day about the situation that happened at the park. Thank God it didn't break out to be something else, but it could potentially had turned into something deadly real quick. And she told me, she said, you was putting your life on the line. And I said, yeah, I was putting my life on the line, but I don't think like that when I'm reacting. I don't think like, oh my God, somebody can do something to me, because that's the passion I have and that's the love I have for my people, that I'm willing to get between whatever situation it is in that moment. I'm not thinking like that because I'm not operating in fear. I'm operating in love. And I believe that love overcomes a multitude of sins. So when I'm out there operating in that space, there's no hesitation with me. I'm on it, because just the same way as I was when I was in the streets, I was very reactive in a negative way. It was on and popping. So if something confronted me, I was confrontational. I met confrontation with confrontation when I was on the other side of this thing, when I was not saved, when I was out there in my wilderness experience. So I know what all of that looks like in real time, because I've been through that, been there, done that. And so I said I wanted to come on here and first and foremost, apologize to my community for my wrongs, for the part that I played in some of the detriment that you see right now today that is generational. So the reason why you see me go as hard as I go is because I'm still operating out of conviction. I'm still operating out of redemption. I'm still operating out of reconciliation, because I owe God for what he did for me and where he brought me from. So I'm on the front line doing community activist work. I'm not doing it for the income. I'm doing it for the outcome. And so I'm not the type of person that's going to compromise when I know when I'm doing it in the righteous way. I'm not going to compromise for the devil when I'm doing the righteous work. It is what it is. When I was in my mess, it is what it was. And so on this side of it, I'm looking at things from a different perspective and through a different lens, because I'm operating different. I'm seeing things more in the spirit, more so than the natural. So I look deep within the surface of things, not just look at the surface, but look at what's going on underneath all of that. And I'm seeing spiritual warfare right now going on in our community, man. And I see the battle of good and evil is confrontational. You know what I'm saying? And so I see that spirit out there at the King Parade. On one side, you got this stage here with gospel, and then on this side, you got this side with secular, and you got a war going on. And it's like, we're not in this to compete. We're in this to collaborate. And I would like to see, and moving forward, that I believe that these types of events should be more about service and more about giving back. I believe that it should be more about resources and information for the community. I think that it should be more organizations that's boots on the ground, that's grassroots organizations that can come out and disseminate information out to the community We need to tackle some real serious issues in our community right now because it's a nightmare. It ain't a dream. And so I want to get into that right now real quick with some of y'all. And this is where you all can really, really dig in with me and give me some feedback. And I want to start with number one. Number one is education. Number one is education. I'm talking about Miami-Dade. I'm not talking about what's going on nationally. I'm not talking about what's going on in Chicago. I'm not talking about what's going on in Compton. I'm not talking about what's going on in Detroit. I'm not talking about what's going on in New York. I'm talking about what's going on right now in the 305, right now in Miami-Dade County. And even if you're watching and you're not from Miami and you're from another state, you're from another city, do some research on your community if you live in the black community, because I had to do some extensive research on these 4 key topics that I wanted to get into tonight. I'm not going to be long, but I'm going to be strong. It's 9:45. I want to close this out maybe like 10:15 at the latest, right? And I want to get into the first one, and that's education. Miami-Dade Public Schools. We had a town hall meeting not too long ago with Dr. Dorothy Bendross-Mendigal's I'm talking about our school now. I'm so hooked on talking about our school, which is the Dr. Dorothy Bendross Social and Economic Institute in Miami, Florida, which is on 5120 Northwest 24th Avenue in the heart of Brown Sub. Yes. So I want to talk about the queen, who the school is in the namesake of, who is one of my biggest supporters, Dr. Dorothy Bendross-Mendigal. We had a town hall meeting not too long ago at Friendship Missionary Baptist Church, which is up under the leadership of Pastor Gaston Smith. And we was talking about the wealth gap in the education, Miami-Dade Public Schools annual budget. Now watch this. Miami-Dade Public Schools budget annually, this is the 2023 and 2024 budget for the year. $7 billion. Yeah. $7 billion. If you don't believe me, go online right now. Google this. Google Miami-Dade Public School budget for 2023 and 2024. $7 billion. In which black businesses only receive 2% procurement contracts through that $7 billion budget. You heard what I said. 2%. It was at one time 5%, but now it's all the way down to 2%. That black businesses, meaning vendors that do business in Miami-Dade, are only getting 2% of the wealth out of $7 billion. Where's the rest of the money going? And who's the rest of the money going to? Do your own investigation if you don't believe me, because I did research. Google Miami-Dade Public Schools budget 2023, 2024, which is $7 billion. With that, we're talking about a tremendous wealth gap in terms of how Miami-Dade Public Schools does business with small local vendors in the black community. And let's just say you got a mom and pop business, you got a small business mom and pop grant or whatever, however you got your funding to fund your business, and you have a t-shirt company, right? You sell t-shirts and you want to do business with Miami-Dade, but you don't have the capacity to print out 2,000 t-shirts. Well, we gotta make this thing work for us, right? And this is what I mean by collaborate and not compete. If you got a t-shirt shop and I got a t-shirt shop, we need to collaborate so that we can get the contract with Miami-Dade Public Schools, because let's not get it twisted. That's what everybody else is doing. They just not telling you that's how they doing it. But they're collaborating. We're competing. And so when they tell you that maybe you filled out the paperwork and they're telling you that, oh, well, we looked over your paperwork and you don't qualify for whatever reason, they tell you don't qualify for funding or for them to do business with you, you got to dig a little deeper. And this is where we need our elected officials to step in and deal and have these town hall meetings with local businesses in the communities and show them steps and measures on how they can do business with Miami-Dade Public Schools. Not just sit back and get buffaloed over and just don't even get a chance to be a part of the process of doing business with Miami-Dade Public Schools. $7 billion? What they gonna do with $7 billion? I mean, look around at your schools. Look around in your environment, in your community where these schools sit. Look at the environment. Does your school look like it's getting $7 billion of that money, a piece of that pie? In what way? When we have schools that don't have programs that are shut down, music, band, trade, all these different programs that's been snatched out of schools, where's the funding going if they're getting $7 billion a year? Thank you, Tracy, for checking in. Courtney, I see you checking in. Collaborations and coalitions build better communities. I thank you. Thank you, Fred, for that. You're definitely right. Cost of food, too. Miami has one of the highest costs of food, too. My source, Bridget Matter, TikTok. Okay. I see you. I see you, brother. Oh, I see you, Fred. You going in, man. Big community issues, gun violence. Absolutely. We're going to get into that, too. Civil disobedience. This is from Fred Christian. Thank you, my brother, for chiming in. Civil disobedience. I know a few people's arrested for it. You're right. What's going on, Denise? I see you, my Compton big homie, my Compton big sis. What's going on with you? How are you? So I want to get into this. Also, an attack on Black history in our public schools. Our Florida governor, with the insanity of attacking Black history in schools, where now they're wanting to tell us that slavery benefited Black people. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how slavery benefited Black people. Oh, their rationale was that slaves learned trades during slavery. Wait a minute, we came from Africa with trades. We came from Africa with skills. We came off the slave ship with skills already. There was nothing that the white man taught slaves to do that they didn't already know when they came off the slave boat. So for them to say that slaves benefited from slavery is preposterous and insane and insensitive. I know who did benefit. White folk. White folk benefited from slavery. The billionaires that you see today that don't look like me and you, that accumulated generational wealth, Black labor, white wealth, was built off the slaves' backs that built this country. But that's a whole nother history lesson. Also, the school to prison pipeline. Black children in Miami-Dade represent over half of youth arrests. So, you know, they got to keep this thing going. They got more and more of our youth going to prison at a young age. And they taking them from the school board police department straight to the juvenile department. They get expelled from school for little or whatever they get expelled for. And now they're no longer able to go to public schools. And before you know it, they're in the penal system. They're in the penal system. So they're already, before they're even 14, 15, 16 years old, they've already got an arrest record. So that's the school to prison pipeline that's alive and well right now. That's going on. And if you look at the population of people who populate the prison systems across the country, you already know what that looks like, right? Also want to get into wealth and economics. The median asset value was highest for white households at $113,500. U.S. blacks had the lowest median total asset value at $6,700. Let me say that again. The median asset value was highest for white households at $113,500 compared to U.S. blacks who had the lowest median total asset value at $6,700, which amounted to less than 6% of the median asset value of white households. I want you to check this out. I want you to do your research on this. Everything that I'm telling you is facts based. So you can research it. You can look this up yourself. Look up the median asset value in comparison with blacks in comparison to whites here in the United States of America. U.S. households had a median net worth of $128,200 in 2019. That was during the pandemic, which rose to $166,900 in 2021. That was kind of when we came out of the pandemic, 2020, 2021, somewhere in there. But between 2019 and 2020, the U.S. households had a median net worth of $128,200 in 2019, and it rose to $166,900 in 2021. Pew found figures were calculated under using December 21 prices, while overall median net worth growth 30%. Some groups saw their wealth grow at an even faster clip during the height of the pandemic. We just spoke about that. During the height of the pandemic, this is when most people wasn't even working. Most people couldn't even leave their homes. But some kind of way, even during the pandemic, their value was going up. Their value was going up. Who was in office at the time? 45, right? Okay. So we figured that's how that went up, right? Housing in Miami-Dade, African-American home ownership. We're talking about housing now. Now I'm going to hit these 4 key points: education, wealth and economics, housing, and community. These are going to be the 4 bases of subjects that I want to get into tonight to show you the nightmare that we're living right now. This don't look like the dream right now that King talked about. This looks like the nightmare. Do your research. Housing in Miami-Dade African-American home ownership was 44.1% at the close of 2020, while the rate of white home ownership was 74.5%. Proof of the significant gap as per the U.S. Census Bureau. Miami-Dade homeless population, which is 60% black, but yet only represents blacks only represent less than 18% of the overall population, but yet we represent 60% of the homeless population. I need to say that again. We're talking about housing right now. We just talked about wealth and housing, which is in conjunction, because wealth, for the most part, home ownership is wealth. You don't have no home ownership, you can't leave nothing behind. You can rent for year after year after year, month after month after month, but you can't leave this with nobody. You can't leave your apartment with nobody, but you can leave your house with somebody. That's the first accumulation of wealth right there, which is home ownership, which we lag way behind everybody in home ownership. I want to read that again. In Miami-Dade, I'm going to keep this specifically local because we got this issue going on right in our own backyard. While we so busy worrying about what's going on over here on social media about Cat Williams and all this other stuff about 50 million views, ain't none of that stuff pertinent to our right now situation. And this is the distraction that we see all the time on social media. Gossip and drama is things that fuel our interest because we want to hear the next gossip that comes out. But this is the gospel. This is the gospel. So when we talk about the gospel stage at MLK Parade, don't think this is just about gospel music. Just don't think this is just about artists getting on stages talking about how good Jesus is to them. We want to deal with this stuff right here, which is the gospel, which is the same gospel that Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was talking about in his I Have a Dream speech. He was talking about wealth equality. He was talking about the money then. And see, that's the conversation that people get uncomfortable with, is when you start talking about the money. And never take your eyes and focus off the money, because while you distracted with the entertainment, see, they give us entertainment to keep us from talking about the money. They keep us interested in sports and entertainment to keep us distracted from the money. So that's the go-to. If you ask what category are blacks leading in, they ain't leading in none of these categories, but they leading in entertainment. We leading in sports. Oh, we got the superstars on the basketball court and on the football field and on the baseball field. We superstars. But when it comes down in the community with the necessities and in education, we're behind. In wealth economy, we're behind. In housing, we're behind. And in our communities, we're behind. We're behind in all four categories that matter. I want to get into our community. When you look around your community, what do you see? All you got to do is look at the conditions of your community and you will see failed leadership. You see failed leadership when you look at the conditions of your community. Failed leadership. See, we parading up and down and waving. And we riding through gentrification. We waving. We riding through poverty. We waving. We riding through drug addiction and drug infested neighborhoods. We smiling. We waving through homelessness. We smiling and waving like we did something. We patting ourselves on the back like we did something. And we riding through the hood. In the parade, 47 years that this parade has been going on, you riding through 54th, you ride from 54th and 12th Avenue all the way down to 32nd Avenue, and you're riding down the same street that most of the people that's participating in the parade won't even come to. They won't even come to on it. They'll ride through, but they won't stop by. And that's a big difference. That's a big difference. Riding through and stopping by is a big difference. Because see, when you stop by long enough, you start looking around, you like, man, some got to give. And it activates something in you to want to be about the change you want to see. But when you just riding through, you don't have the empathy and you don't have the wherewithal to discern what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. So we want to engage leaders who have the empathy and the compassion to serve, not the ones who just want to be served and want to wave, look at me and I'm this and I'm that. But when you look at the conditions of the community, then you got to take ownership and you got to take accountability of the environment that we created. Because the Bible tells us that if my people who have been called by my name should turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and heal thy land. So we got to look at the conditions of our community and we got to take ownership and say, what part did I play? I played a destructive part in the way I turned out, the way that I started ripping and running the streets, the way that I sold drugs and sold poison to my people, which subsequently ended up me becoming a drug addict. So I have to take accountability for my actions and now try to make amends to God and say, oh Lord, forgive me for the sins that I committed. That was the only reason why he freed me out of prison from the beginning, was because he knew my heart. Not so much as what my friends and family thought, because they was like, oh, well, we done heard this story before. But God saw my heart and recognized that, man, when I set you free, you are free indeed. And when you get freed up this time, you're going to work for me. You're going to work for me. You're going to be on God's payroll. And so when you on God's payroll, have somebody help me now. When you on God's payroll, your cup runneth over. He give you favor. What is favor? Favor will do for you what money can't do for you. Favor will open up doors and give you opportunities that even your money won't be able to do. Favor will help you stay healthy and not keep you out the hospital when God has his hands on you, because he'll heal those things so that, because I need you to work. I need you out there. I need you healthy. I need you to be able to get up and go. And that's what God has had me going for 20 years now. I don't have an alarm clock that wakes me up. I get up every morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, by God's grace and mercy. He wakes me up every morning on time at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I wake up with the mindset of who I'm going to serve today. Who can I help today? Oh Lord, send me to somebody or send someone to me that I can be a blessing to today. That's the spirit that I wake up in every day. So when I come on here today to do this live, I came in and I've been in my spirit, in the spirit all day about this event, because I knew that I don't want to come on here just saying anything to my people just to be on Facebook, just so that they can see, look at me, I'm on Facebook. No, I need you to do the research. I don't want you to just take my word for what I have to say. I want you to go do your own research and read what I just, research what I just talked about, the education in Miami-Dade public schools in the annual budget, $7 billion. I want you to read about the wealth gap between blacks, Hispanics, and white Caucasians. I want you to see that. I want you to talk about the housing discrepancy and the housing discrimination that we deal with here in South Florida. I want you to know about that. I want you to hear about how many returned citizens like myself that get out of prison that can't even rent an apartment because we have a conviction on our records. Whether it's 10, 15, 20 years ago, you can't even rent in the state of Florida if you're a convicted felon, because they scrutinize your application and they say, oh, you've been convicted. They can deny you without any reason. They could deny you without any reason. So even if you got a 9-to-5 job, you still homeless to a certain degree because you can't be on someone's lease. How does that sound? How emasculating is that? That here it is, you getting up, going to work every day, but yet and still you can't even rent an apartment. How emasculating is that? So the government has systemically found ways to emasculate men and to elevate black women, but empower them with falsehood, empower them with the mindset that they think that they can be single and live all right, be okay single with no husband and do it all by themselves. But that's not even in God's divine order. That's not even God's divine order. You should know that that's a strategic setup from Satan himself to divide and conquer the household, to take the man out the house. It has been systemically done for decades, and it has been proven that this is how the enemy has crept into our homes by putting our women and children on welfare, and so that they can eliminate the man out the house. And I want to close with the last part of this as we talk about the community. We talk about crime, which is one at the top of the food chain. When we talk about crime in our communities, we're talking about gun violence in our community, gun violence on all different types of levels. You're talking about a country who their premise is violence. Their premise is violence. So how is it that the most violent country in the world, that's the most policed, but has the most prisons out of any country in the world? It doesn't make sense. But I get it, because prison is a business as well. So when you incarcerate, that's like legalized slavery. When you incarcerate the poor, when you incarcerate those who have mental health challenges, when you over-criminalize people that's struggling with addiction, and you fill up the prisons with 85% of the population in prison or addicts or people that's dealing with mental health issues, you're really criminalizing the poor and giving privilege to the rich and the wealthy. We're talking about the homeless population that I just mentioned, which is 60% black. We're talking about human trafficking. We're talking about gentrification, sea level rise gentrification and gentrification. Voter suppression, we're talking about that. Systemic racism and other social and mental and economic ills in our community. And if you are a Miami-Dade resident and you would like more information about this crisis of African Americans here in Miami, there's a website that you can go to that explains and that shows you the majority of things and then some of the things that I discussed tonight. And that's www.miamimatters.org. Go to www.miamimatters.org. www.miamimatters.org. And also, if you want to look at how you can help here in Miami, if you want to be a part of the solution, there's organizations that you could partner with and collaborate with. One being, I have a nonprofit organization, which is Share Inc., Sharing Hope, Empowerment, and Reaction. I have mentorship programs. I deal with drug addiction. I deal with substance abuse. I deal with homelessness. I deal with returning citizens. I deal with mental health. I deal with drug intervention. I deal with gang intervention. I deal with peer pressure. I'm a motivational speaker. I go to schools and speak. I go to jails and prisons and speak to inmates that's incarcerated, men and women and children, when they come home, have a place that they can come and they can feel like they belong. And that's what the Circle of Brotherhood right in Miami. I gave you the address earlier, which is 5120. If you want to write it down, that's 5120 Northwest 24th Avenue, Miami, Florida, Liberty City, 33142. You also can contact me at 786-718-0316. You can also email me at anthonydurden@yahoo.com. That's Anthony Durden, Durden @yahoo.com if you want to contact me. And also, if you want to go to our website for the Circle of Brotherhood, that's www.circleofbrotherhoodmiami.org. www.circleofbrotherhoodmiami.org. If you want to support in any way of those organizations, my nonprofit organization is www.shearinc.org. My website is www.shearinc.org. That's my nonprofit organization. If you want to support in any way, you can make a donation to my organization. We definitely need the funding so that we can continue to do the work. I don't operate off of any grants, although I need them, and I need grant writers, but I've been operating for the past 20 years, since 2001, over 20 years. I've been operating on just donations from the community, donations from private sponsors that donate and sow seeds into the organization and to what I call the ministry of the work that I do out here. The things that you see me doing is Sheer Inc. The things that you see me doing out here is Circle of Brotherhood. So if you want to donate to either or to both, you can donate to those websites that I just described. If somebody can drop this in the chat for me, www.shearinc.org. Somebody please drop that in the chats for me right now. Also drop www.circleofbrotherhoodmiami.org. Please, somebody drop that in the chat so that somebody that's online, that's watching, can click that website, go on there and make a donation, go on there and support. So I just want to make sure that I checked in. I want to be obedient to the time. I'm looking at the time right now. It's 10:11. I said that I want to close this out at 10:15. I want to do a series of this. And I'm also going to share my notes. I'm going to share my notes that I took tonight. I'm going to drop this on my Facebook news feed to share my notes that I read off to you tonight. And also I want to drop some websites where I got some of the information from, because that's what I was doing before I went live. I was actually doing some studying. I wanted to give you some fact-based information. I didn't just want to come here and come off the cuff and just go off. You know what I mean? I wanted to come in here and really educate our people, man, because I still see a light at the end of the tunnel. Like Dr. King said, he still see a light at the end of the tunnel. I just think that moving forward, this is 2024. We're in the first month of 2024. And I got a birthday coming up on the 29th. I'll be 54 years young, January the 29th. So if you guys want to drop me a birthday seed, you can drop me a birthday seed at my Cash App, which is I'm a testimony, $. I am a testimony. I'm a testimony. If you wanted to drop me a birthday seed, my 54th birthday is January the 29th. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what the wife got planned for me. But anyway, I just want to log in with you all real quick. I love you and ain't nothing you could do about it. I wanted to answer a few questions. If I can go into some of the comments. I see Fred, you've been going in, man. Thank you, my brother. Thank you, man. You've been really, really giving me a lot of energy on this feed, man. There's so many different things that I can answer. I see Tawana Akers, Nelly, you tagged them. Let me see. I'm going to scroll down. Susan Bullets, I see that you tagged Susan Bullets. Thank you. Thank you so much, man. You tagged Pop. And like I said, I haven't been on live in a while, so I don't even know how this is going to go. Sometimes people don't like to go on live when you're going on live. I see you, Blackman. What's going on, Blackman? Keep speaking the truth, my brother. I see you. Thank you, my brother. Bless up. Plus redlining in communities too. Thank you, Brother Chris. Thank you for dropping that information for me, man. You said the average rent Miami-Dade starts at $3,000 per month. Wow. Tracy Williams, thank you so much. Yes, you're talking about distractions. Yes, you're talking about distractions. I just mentioned that entertainment and sports to keep us distracted from what's really going on in our community. A lot of people are getting on social media. They're getting on YouTube, and they're having some historic content. I mean, they're getting the views. They're getting the views, and they're getting people to talk about it. But what are they talking about? What are they talking? What is what they're saying going to impact the community in a positive way? You tell me. I mean, I hear about the stuff, but I'm saying to myself, in the back of my mind, I'm often thinking, well, how is this going to resonate to what's going on in real time in my community? Like the type of moves we making out here in the streets, we really don't engage with that kind, because it doesn't help us, and it doesn't feed into what we need out here as a community to better our people and to better our situation and our circumstances. All it is just a major distraction, and they got a niche. They know how to get people talking about it. So preferably that people can talk about this. I don't expect this to go viral, but I hope that our community can engage in conversation, that this could be the spark that ignite a flame of inspiration in our community, man, to get people active and get people involved. But like I said, I wanted to stay on here for a minimum of an hour, maybe an hour 15, hour 30 minutes, you know what I mean? And so I'm still trying to see who else is on here. Fred, man, thank you so much again, man. You've been going in, bro. You've been going in. I'm going to come back and I'm going to look at all these comments on here. And so let me see if anybody else haven't checked in. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. That was my brother's birthday. I see you, Constantine. Your brother's birthday was on the same date as mine. We need doctors, lawyers, teachers, entrepreneurs in the community, better education system that happens, and it's a must. Yes. Yes, I stopped by a few times and it needs love. Right. Okay. I see you, Pop. Love, brotherhood. Keep fighting the good fight. Yes, sir. Who do we serve? All right. I'm checking out, man. Salute. It's your street service. Minister Anthony Durden. Have a blessed Sunday. 1.